The 54 African heads of state and government will tomorrow converge at the African Union headquarters plenary hall to determine the fate of a draft proposal fronted by Uganda and seconded by South Sudan, seeking to refer to the Kenyan judicial system the post-election violence cases that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto face at the ICC. The motion that was endorsed at the AU Executive Council level by all the African countries except Botswana has been listed high on the issues that the African heads of state and government will discuss during their closed-door session tomorrow.
What we have on the agenda of the Executive Council, it's a proposal by East African Community to discuss this matter as an agenda point, not about the pullout, but just the relations between the ICC and African member states. We have agreed to put this issue on the agenda, and it will then go and be tabled at the level of heads of states. Yes. But I want the approach to look at the relationship rather than just on pulling out en masse. I mean, that's something else.
The motion supported by the AU Executive Council was fronted as an East African region's request for a referral of the ICC investigations and prosecutions in relation to the 2007-2008 post-election violence in Kenya, in line with the principle of complementarity. This, according to the motion, will allow for a national mechanism to investigate and prosecute the cases that President Kenyatta and his deputy Ruto face at the ICC under a reformed judiciary, as provided for in the current constitutional order, as part of the efforts in peace building and national reconciliation, and to avert a repeat of skirmishes in Kenya. The motion states that Kenya has primary jurisdiction over the investigations and prosecutions of crimes in relation to the 2007-2008 post-election violence, and hence the government should be given another opportunity to establish a credible local judicial mechanism to try the post-election violence suspects before the ICC can take up the matter. The African Union Commission chairperson Dr. Dlamini Zuma alluded to the motion in her speech during the official opening ceremony of the 21st AU Summit.
When we therefore talk about African solutions to African problems, it is because we know that we can only permanently silence the guns if we act in solidarity and in unity.
President Kenyatta is scheduled to address his peers tomorrow during an open session, and the ICC issue is likely to feature in his maiden speech at the AU Summit after his election on March 4th. The motion on ICC that will be deliberated on tomorrow is a culmination of shuttle diplomacy that the president and his deputies spearheaded before their election and shortly after taking over the reins of power. Critics of the ICC referral motion have wondered whether a motion by the African Union to have the Kenyan ICC cases moved to Nairobi can compel the ICC to do so. A similar AU motion 2 years ago, pushing for the shelving of ICC charges against Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, did not materialize, and he remains indicted for the atrocities committed in the Darfur region. By the time the African heads of state and government walk out of these gates tomorrow, Kenyans will have known whether there will be any efforts in bringing back to Nairobi the cases facing President Uhuru Kenyatta, his deputy William Ruto, and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang. But will the AU position get the necessary support from the key players in the UN Security Council? And if the cases was to be brought back to Nairobi, does the Kenyan government have the necessary capacity and political goodwill to establish a credible local judicial mechanism to try the post-election violence cases and ensure justice for the suspects and the victims? Francis Gashori, Citizen Weekend, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.